Good evening and welcome, peasants, to Talking is a Free Action. I hope you're listening closely. I am, as I am sure you know by now, and if not, what is wrong with you? The Fae. I represent the Question Masters today, your favourite kindly overlords, and to further our constant, insatiable quest for knowledge, I hope you'll join me today in welcoming a new guest to my villa of Veracity. Now, today we have the mortal known as Aldryn. Now, dearest Aldryn, we just go to chat, maybe throw you in some dungeons. It will all be absolutely fine. Just a few horrible life and death, soul-searching choices. But don't you worry. Nothing I can do to you is permanent, and at the end of an hour, I'll send you right back to where you came from, and you'll have no memory that this ever happened. Although also, we do have suspicions that this lovely Aldryn here is just one of several people in the material plane connected to a higher being known as David. And we believe he exists in an entirely different plane. And hopefully we'll be able to extract some information from David as well. So, Aldryn, my darling, are you ready to be challenged?
Sure, I'm thinking I may have eaten too much halfling cheese because this is a weird kind of illusion going on right now, but sure, why not?
That's the spirit, and if you want to think of it all as an illusion, sweetheart, then whatever gets you through the time, I'm fine with that. But before we begin your trials and tribulations, I have been provided with some important people to thank. It turns out that for some reason we have been generously sponsored by the entities known as Hero Forge, Ultra Pro, Phoenix Dice and Alchemy RPG, and are supported by Idle Champions, Warriors of Waterdeep, Neverwinter, Elderwood Academy, and D&D Beyond. Also, we have a particular place in our warm, cozy hearts for our audience members known as the D20 Club. They have perpetually earned a place in our good books, and you should be wise. Stay on my good side and join them by supporting us on Patreon. Now, if you can't join us live here in the Villa of Veracity, you can always listen on your favourite podcasting app by searching for Roll Together RPG. And if you wanted to engage with us further in a social sort of fashion, our influence has spread to various social media locations under the same tag, Roll Together RPG. Now, Aldryn, you have been summoned. Over the next, 57 minutes or so, you shall traverse my villa. Behind each door is a challenge to overcome. But remember, if at any point your sweet little brain can't cope with it, then talking is a free action. You can always choose to bypass the problem and connect me to this David, and we can have a little chat instead. And, as I say, you'll be back in an hour with no memory of this ever happening. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we begin?
Don't rightly understand everything you just said to me, but sure, let's have a little explore and maybe we'll talk to this David feller, whoever that is.
I mean, I hope so. He does sound very interesting.
I'm sure he's a handsome man.
Well, it sounds like he has something in common with the Overlord Question Master who does rule us all, but it must just be a coincidence and nothing really in common. So, shall we begin?
Strange old world.
Would you like to roll what they call a D100, or would you like me to?
I think on this occasion, seeing as how it's your setup and I'm in your villa as it stands, you go right ahead and you roll them things.
A gentleman, this is going well. There are people who've made a worse first impression in less time. Well done. That is a 54. So, Aldryn, turning from my marvellous front porch, you see before you a door entirely made of red gemstone. It is cut and polished, and you can see your face reflected in 1,000 tiny facets. The handle is gold, and if you lightly touch it, it will swing straight open. Do you enter?
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound, as my old friend used to say. let's go on through that thing.
Was this friend a useful friend? A good friend?
Well, they were up until the time they died, but you know,
how sad.
yeah,
What happened to them?
That's a whole other streaming session, if you know what I mean. They were very loyal, very supportive ally of mine, and well, some bad folks got in the way, and they didn't want to come back, and that's about all I got to say about that.
Goodness.
Yeah.
This is why you just shouldn't have any friends. It works best for me. You can
Hard to
take
split a
that
party
advice
when
or
there's
leave
no
it.
party, right?
Precisely, and then you get to keep the party all to yourself.
I've been to a lot of parties, but I ain't never been accused of being one.
Maybe after today, you will have another string to add to your bow. So, entering this room, it is dark. You head on in carefully, but you bump into a chair. Sitting down in that chair, you realise the chair is pulled up to a table, and there is someone sniffling in a chair on the other side of the table. Feeling about on the table in front of you, you can feel a plate. Suddenly there is the flare of light and the sound of a match being struck. A lantern is lit, and you see before you a figure. Hello, they say. My name's Medusa. My date, the cute nymph, just stood me up, or turned into a statue. Will you be my date? What do you say?
Well, now, you say there's a thing like a plate or a reflective object in front of me on this here
There
table.
is indeed a plate. Would you like to see if it is made of reflective material?
I would like to see that, yes, very much.
Why don't we see? You're very lucky. It is indeed metal plate, silver, if you had to guess.
Well, then, I would say, well, I'm right sorry to hear that, and of course, I would be more than happy to accompany you, but on the off chance that you have been sad and crying and such like, and you might have some regard for your appearance, I'd like to invite you to have a look in this here plate and just see if your hair and so forth is looking right for you before, we go on about our way. You just take a look right in there.
Ooh. How persuasive are you feeling, Aldryn?
I'd like to think I'm pretty persuasive.
Let's see. Well, Medusa, she is a canny person, and she has been stood up, so she's feeling naturally suspicious. What do you do to just really sell your case?
Well, I'd like to think that my general demeanor and my mannerisms of well-being, I'm a unthreatening sort. Perhaps, I ain't a big feller, but a bit lithe and supple, so maybe I stand up such like and offer quite a genuflection of a flourishing bow to present this fine person with some reflective materials and such.
Oh, now of course she has been keeping her face hidden behind a cushion as she sobs, because otherwise you would already be turned into stone. But she can somehow feel the chivalry exuding into the room. And
It's my aura.
yes, I think she does in fact reach out, take the plate, and gently move the cushion to one side to start unsmudging her mascara. Why, Aldrin, what do you think will happen next?
Well, I think there's two different schools of thought on this theory. One is that you can look through a reflective surface at a Medusa, Gorgon, and such like, and remain otherwise unharmed, but it won't do nothing to them. The other is that should they catch sight of themselves in such a reflective surface, that their own powers of turning themselves to stone might indeed work in such a way as to ensure you everyone's getting stoned at this party, if you know what I mean.
Well, I know which legend I grew up with, but shall we keep it nice and surprising? Odds, you can converse, neither changed. Evens, she is turned to stone. Oh dear. this may be, you'll have to tell me, the shortest date you have ever been on, Aldryn. As soon as she takes a look in, she solidifies. And there is a rather fetching Medusa statue sitting at the table opposite you.
Well, now, that was definitely a short date. I'd like to take a book of matches out of my pocket and get myself one of them old cigars and say, well, this may not have been a good date, but... And I light a match on the statue. That was a successful Tinder.
Oh, no. That physically hurts. Many
psychic damage, right?
I think I do need to take about 4 points of psychic damage. If you turn around, the Fae is lounging against the wall. And, well, say interesting. You didn't want to give the poor woman some company? You went straight for permanent incapacitation?
Well, now, I look at it like you said. I'm here for an hour, and nothing I do really gonna have any impact going forward, so I figured why not have some fun. Now, of course, if this was a real-life scenario with real-life consequences, then I would be happy to talk to this person a bit more, but you know, I used to be a cleric of mask, and I used to have quite a tricksy side to my nature, so I'm thinking, hey, I got an hour of flights of fancy. Why not let that all run wild and enjoy being back in that saddle for a day?
I mean, that is fascinating logic, but you may have misunderstood me. I said you didn't remember, or you wouldn't remember. I didn't say there wouldn't be any consequences.
Well, I guess one's about the same as the other now, isn't it?
Well, poor Medusa here, I'm going to have to take her out and add her to my statue collection in the garden and find a new Medusa to lure into my villa for the next person. And as for you, if you impress me in here, you may not remember it, but I will. And if you don't impress me, I'll remember that as well.
I just want to be clear now. You're saying that you keep getting Medusas in here and you keep getting them stood up by people?
I think I'll ask the questions.
I'm just trying to make sure I'm on the same path, that's all, but all right then.
I do like an inquisitive soul. Are you ready for another room?
I guess so.
Good. Ooh, we're going down here. You see another door in the room and the wall ahead of you. This is much more rustic. It is arched at the top, made of knotted wooden panels with a few bits of branches and moss starting to push through. Would you like to go through this door?
Not sure, why not? Better to go forward than back.
You emerge into blazing sunlight, a bucolic view of some farmland. And ahead of you, on a picnic bench, there is a scroll. Would you like to go and read what's on the scroll?
Sure, I'll go read what's on the scroll. If you pardon my ignorance, I don't have a lot of book learning and such. Use the word there, bucolic, I think it was. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Rural and pretty.
Oh, I see. So very much a word one could use to describe myself.
I was just about to say, quite like my present company.
Well, thank you kindly.
So
go see the scroll, I guess.
This field has less of a sharp edge than I suspect you are hiding. On this scroll, if you pick it up, it reads in flowery script. There are 30 cows in a field and 28 chickens. How many didn't?
30 cows in a field. It's not many cows. Not where I'm from.
It's not a big field.
Well, right.
Where are
then.
you from?
I'm from a small village in Am, about 5-6 days from Athcatler. As the drover walks, and there's a lot of cows, there's a lot of chickens. I remember a friend of mine once had this concept for a play called Cow and Chicken, but never came to much. Kept ending up with milk and eggs all over the place. Just had a great big cake.
If you began somewhere so bucolic, when I fished you out of your current predicament, you did seem to be in rather the middle of a battle in a much bigger place. How on earth did you get from there to here?
Well, that involves a lot of time, a lot of choices. Some of them I made, some of them were made for me. We all find ourselves adrift on the waters of life. We can choose whether we hang to the flotsam or the jetsam, whether we strike out to shore, whether we let the wind and the waves bury us. And I, my friend, have always been a striver, and I'm finding my way just as best I can. And right now, that way seems to involve fighting things that resemble giant maggots and such, which, I'll be honest, ain't the best day of my life, but at least I'm side by side with friends, so maybe it could be worse, you know what I mean?
Ah, this friends thing again. What was the best choice you made that got you to fighting giant maggots?
Well, now, that's a difficult path to wander about and quandary and such. I would say best choice I ever made was deciding to follow the wisdom of Timor, redeem myself from following the precepts of Mask and becoming a much nicer feather and using the skills and the abilities and such I got for making folks' lives better instead of making folks' lives worse. Even though from time to time you meet a folk who might be a kind of a rich asshole, and maybe you think that taking some of their money and giving it to somebody else might be all for the greater good. So there's a bit of leeway, there's a bit of gray space, you know what I mean? Timor is not a prescriptive god.
No, she does seem fun.
Well, exactly so. Why do you think I want to set up a church in a casino? Me and Timor, we had some arguments about that, but I think I'm bringing them round. Anyway, cows and chickens and
yes,
such.
30 for cows in a field, 28 chickens. How many didn't?
I mean, I'm a wise fella. I ain't none too bright. We talking about like cows what are afraid and such? Cows being chickens. I'm like,
I like your thinking. Completely wrong, but very imaginative.
I'm just thinking about a time when some wolves was attacking this flock of sheep. Could have been cows, I suppose, but cows are a lot more dangerous than people give them credit for.
Really?
I've seen people walking across a cow field. They got their dog, they got stuff, and they see a sign that's been put up by a farmer, and it's like, you don't want to come in here because cows, they'll get you, right? And slightly more succinctly put than that, but essentially that is the point of it. It's a big cow and a big sign and a scared little dog, and people still be walking across them fields, and the cows will chase them, especially time of year when they got little cows. And I try and explain to people, you gotta be wise. Don't have to be none too clever. You just gotta be wise. You gotta know about your cows and your chickens. Anyway, I don't know.
If you turn, the door you came in by is hanging open, and now, as you turn to look, there is a sign on it that says, "You don't want to come in here because cows, they'll get you." I like that. Thank you. It needed a little something.
I'm more than happy to help. Now, as far as this little here quandary goes, my level of intelligence, they're 30 and 28. I barely count to 30, I'll be honest. How many didn't? Well, I'm going to say 2, because I know the difference between 28 and 30 is 2. I don't know nothing else about that, apart from, cows, they'll get you.
Oh dear, is 2 your final answer?
It's best I can do with the amount of stuff I know.
Well, it was a valiant effort, but you see the cows suddenly stop dead and all turn to look at you simultaneously.
Oh no.
And you suddenly realize that the cows have teeth, sharp teeth, fangs, too many fangs. No cow should have that many fangs, and they're all approaching you rather rapidly. Would you like to invoke your talking as a free action?
Well, now I think it might be a good idea to talk to these cows. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. Tolkien's free action, that sort of thing.
I think that's very wise. And suddenly, Aldryn, you are pulled out of the field and connected to the higher being, David.
What's going on? This is very strange.
Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Hi. Yeah, I was just eating some cornflakes, and suddenly I'm here, and there's hayseed stuck in my teeth. It's weird.
I do that to people. Sorry.
I understand the necessities thereof. No problem. Oh, I mean, yeah, every day is a holiday, I guess.
Something.
Sure. Something of that nature.
You're in Drowning in Blackwater. How is that going?
Yeah, it's going really well. It's a really fantastic group of people. I've had the fortune, the privilege to work with some top people and performers over my time doing this stuff. Yourself very much included. But it's a really lovely mix in terms of kind of party mechanics, characterization, and just that kind of synergy and working together is really fun. The plot's been really interesting to follow, kind of trying to figure out some mysteries with some challenging combat. And I think Chris has set a very good balance between having the story beats and understanding kind of how the characters will explore that, and also throwing some stuff at us that we may not have been expected for that's a bit more challenging. Certainly using spells in ways that I wouldn't have imagined. It's been a challenge, but in a really good way, and it's been a lot of fun so far. Although the maggots and stuff is a little concerning, so we'll have to see how that.
It's Chris DMing. Things have to be a little concerning. It's in their contract.
Yeah. It's a little bit of maggots, always. Yeah,
nice.
Always.
And what's Aldryn like now? Because when we played together, Aldryn was having a huge identity crisis and going from being a servant of Mask to a worshipper of Tymora, and so went from being really quite untrustworthy to suddenly everything is peace. Has that settled down a bit? Does he know who he is? How is it?
Still quite untrustworthy, but in a good way, in a mischievous way. Yeah, I mean, that sort of having been effectively indoctrinated into a cult and then slowly coming to the realization and then very quickly that it was all a lie, finding a new cause to sort of pledge himself to is kind of on the path to redemption, kind of the view that redemption may not be ultimately possible for him, but at the same time doing some good along the way is not going to hurt. And that presumably Tymora has preserved him for some reason, and then finding the shepherds, hearing the cause that they were engaged in, and thinking, this is an opportunity to do good for the little people. I mean, the biggest change in Aldryn is the concern for and the empathy for the little people who aren't movers or shakers, who are sometimes moved and shook, and just having that opportunity for a different perspective. So rather than necessarily turning the wheels of governance by manipulating people at the highest levels, it's more about just looking at the people around. How can improvements be made to their lives on a kind of day-to-day basis? So effectively the people he was born into and grew up with, those sort of farmers and villagers that he would have previously thought himself above and removed from, kind of looking at their lives with a different level of empathy and a different level of maturity as well, because he's grown up quite a lot in a short time. So it's really fun to see how the characters evolved and to think of how to change that, because playing the same character forever and just having them be static and never changing it is very dull. Fantasy kind of lends itself into that trope if you're not careful, because a lot of fantasy worlds tend to not feel that dynamic, especially the kind of medieval fantasy. But I think where D&D is good, and other systems as well, is it gives you the opportunity to have scope beyond that. Mm-hmm. And I love the extent to which the various campaigns that are going on with Roll Together, for example, kind of feed in and influence each other. It makes it that much easier to be part of a dynamic, ever-shifting world, and it makes it much more interesting to develop a character. Because I don't know about you, like if I felt I had nowhere to go with the character, I just retire them, because there's zero point in just phoning it in.
It's why Persephone, who played with Aldryn, is pretty much retired, because she's really happy.
Yeah.
She's defeated her big bad.
There's nothing worse than being happy. Yeah. No one wants a happy hero.
She's found true love. She's got her purpose in life, running this orphanage / martial arts / wizard school with her wife, Ashra. Like, why would I want to take her out adventuring? Because I don't want anything to change for her ever. Yeah. If, like, Ashra, something happens to Ashra or something massive happens in Baldur's Gate, then things have changed. But yeah, you're right. You have to have that willingness to have everything you thought the character was turn upside down. Otherwise it can be a bit, boring.
Yeah, the fabric of the world needs to be imperiled, to quote Brandon Sanderson.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. You can have characters that are in happy places, but if a DM like approached and was like, so kind of want to have an earthquake that destroys your shit, how do you feel about that? Then there's somewhere you can go with it. But I agree, like with the headcanon that the one has for characters, there are some that I feel like Torvald, who is now just happy being a librarian in Candlekeep because he can reach the high shelves, you find yourself at that pattern. And I wasn't sure with Aldryn, but then having the opportunity to kind of play her through as part of the Shepherd story, I'm like, yes, that does make sense, because that's a big enough thing that it would pull him away from day-to-day kind of help, like traveling around, helping people with their clerical issues. It sounds like I'm just doing their taxes for them, really, but no, it's religious-y D&D Healy sort of things. Yeah,
I think it's similar to lifting the curtain slightly. With each campaign we play, we are told PC death is on the table, and then in the safety toolkit that we all get sent, you are given the chance to say, please don't kill this person. It would make me in the real world really upset. I really don't want to. But personally, it's again with the whole change in earthquakes, and for me, if I'm not open to the possibility they might proper die, then it's...
Yeah.
You're just playing.
I have a position on that, in that I think character death can be really good as a story beat. I also think that being upset about a character dying is not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, not at all.
Because it's if you're not engaged with the character in some way, then you're probably not fully connected to what it is that you're trying to do. So having that sense of loss is good. But what I would dislike is like a completely bullshit death. Like you're climbing up a cliff and you just roll in that one and suddenly you
fail the 3 death saves and there's no point. Yeah, 100%. Also, I should say, I've never had a PC die. All my feelings might change if it actually happens. Yeah. Ava is currently imprisoned in the abyss, living through an eternal cycle of torment. So that's close, right?
It sounds worse.
Chris is like an evil genius.
Death would be some sort of sweet release. That's horrible.
Blame Evie. Evie's character. Orcus offered to kill Ava, and Evie's character went, no, can you do something worse?
Wow.
She's so sweet, yet so evil.
Wow, we're friends like those.
But yeah, you're completely right about the emotional attachment. I have a friend who, in the first lockdown, and the times that shall not be named, rang me at like midnight and was like, Rebecca, I'm really sorry, this is completely pathetic, but we've just finished playing an online game of D&D, and my PC, whom I love, she's 2 death saves down. This is a really, really fraught, she could possibly, and I just can't cope with her dying. And bless him, he felt like an absolute idiot, but no, because they matter to us, and also especially at a time where you couldn't see your real friends, your imaginary friend was slightly all you had.
I can see that being especially when your opportunity to socialize is kind of purely vicarious. I think as well, like it's a natural thing that any character that you make is going to be to some degree a self-insert, because we can only build things out of what we know.
Yeah.
And I think that happens. I think that where it becomes potentially problematic is where it's almost just a bit too far. Like the reason, for example, I don't play bards is because I know that I would be very, very tempted to put too much of myself into the character and therefore be way too invested in what happened to them. So it's like, a bit enough to care, enough to be invested, enough to drive the stakes is good. But equally, if your character dies, then you ideally don't want to be like broken up about it for days afterwards. Yes. I mean, just sulk for an hour. That's what I do.
And also, not so much of a self-insert that if a character criticizes your character, it feels like a personal attack. I've definitely made that mistake when I was starting out, and then gone, okay, let's take a step back.
It's very human. I think it's a lot more common in new players because the type of role play, especially if you have kind of inter-party social PvP, it may not be something that people have experienced before, and especially if somebody's like fully invested in their character, is being critical to yours, and you're not used to necessarily that dynamic, then it's just doubly important to check in and just say to people like, I just want you to be very clear, that's my character, your character, not you. This kind of thing, which may seem obvious, but when you're in the moment, it's not always possible to know how other people are reacting to it. So that's a very good point to raise. Like, safety is key. You want everyone to be enjoying it, and like social PvP can be awesome, and like 99 times out of 100 people are not attacking you, and if they are, they're a dick, and get them out of your group.
But it's where not having too much of a self-insert can help. If someone's attacking you because you stole all of that jewelry, that's much easier, I find, to distance than someone's attacking you because you were sarcastic in a mean way, but I'm sarcastic in a mean way, and oh no! Yeah. I should roll the dice and actually ask you a real question, really, shouldn't I?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, I was going in, your best tradition of...
Oh, I waffle. Yeah.
Interviewing. I would try to learn from the master.
I mean, the timekeeper badge was never in danger of being mine.
Okay. This question is, if all of your characters had to fight each other, who would win?
Gosh. I'm trying to think. I'll assume for the purposes of this that they'd all be the same level.
It's up to you. Otherwise, I mean, it's an easier question if not. But
yeah. I mean, probably Aldryn.
Even though he's such a pacifist.
Yeah, I mean, there's peace and tranquility follows a battle. It just depends on how you look at it. Eltrion, maybe? Oh no!
I was wondering
what am I talking about? Alba's unkillable and does about 300 damage a round.
So for people watching who maybe haven't met Alba, can you tell us who Alba is and where they can watch Alba?
So Alba is totally not just a reworked version of a broken character I had in a home game. No, Alba is a former hobgoblin officer from a different plane who was brought together with a bunch of other misfits by gate crashers and trying to solve a potential universe-ruining mystery in that regard, is a blade singer, horrific, just unkillable monster with an effective AC of about 28 that can churn out about 180 DPR. On average, but actually has a developed personality as being part of an elite in a doomed civil war fighting for his people that, he knew they weren't organized enough and was part of an elite corps of troops that decided to fight on their side anyway because it was the right thing to do. And having had all his hair fall out, his mustache, which was a symbol of his position within Hobgoblin society, having been lost, found himself something of a Ronin and therefore attached himself to Mertha to take the opportunity to traverse the multiverse insofar as possible as some sort of plane hopping adventurer / scholar. With a sarcastic nature that belies his inner intellectual desires, but also kind of broken.
Yes, and he would just kill all your other characters without a second thought?
No, I mean, if they all sort of came together, I mean, Aldryn would probably just drop a sphere and
Aldrin's so good at buffing people, my word.
Yeah, Aldryn is
Percy
much
was
better at not
invincible
dying.
when Aldrin was there.
I mean, it's fun. It's been a really coming to sort of support characters and being able to empower other people to have more fun and do more awesomeness has been a lot of fun. It's just buffing Percy and being like, go forth.
You are now a holy weapon.
Go forth and more awesome. That's really fun. And he manages to occasionally assist in combat with a highly rolled cantrip, which is it's enjoyable because it's unexpected. Like I expected to do like 4 damage or something, but Aldrin's very good at not being in the way. So I would imagine if there was a fight between all my characters, he'd be sort of like and then just cast Word of Recall, nope, out of there.
Yes, can't you do stone shape and encase yourself into a wall and then just come out when everyone's dead?
Yeah, meld into stone.
That's the badger.
A bit. Otterleek's Resilient Sphere also comes as part of that, which can only be broken by a Disintegrate spell, which Alba doesn't have, but he could just bounce Aldrin up and down like a basketball, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, if it came down to pure combat, I mean, Aldrin would probably be the best at reasoning or talking himself out of it. Or,
it doesn't say physical fight, just fight.
Perhaps chess boxing. Perhaps convincing Alba it wasn't the way to go. But if it came down to just pure mechanics, Alba is probably the character that I've spent the most time optimizing. Even if not 100%. I never 100% spreadsheet a character because at the end of the day they have to make sense.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, hello, I'm Sir Spreadsheet. What do you do, Sir Spreadsheet? I hit things. Do you have any social skills? No. Do you have any intelligence? No. What do you do? Hit things.
For a one-shot,
yeah.
Sir Spreadsheet, the automaton does sound really quite delightful. But
the knight of the formula. Yes. I mean, sure. Maybe for a one shot, if there's a DM I particularly dislike, which unfortunately there isn't.
I was going to say, if you're ever playing for me and Sir Spreadsheet turns up, I will know.
I did Ali's one shot, and I did the Compt of Edgington, and I was going to just play it like the tropey edgelord, and then I got to the start of the one shot, and I'm like, no, that won't be fun for anyone but me, because it'll be funny for about 5 minutes until the fact that I'm memeing on it wears off, and then it just looks like I'm like, I look into the past. What does your character do, Dave? He stares out to the middle distance.
It's fun for a tenth of a one shot.
Yeah. Does he engage with anyone anyway? No. He's too edgy and tragic. It's like
it's the problem with all of our players. Everyone is too talented. The one I DM'd the Midsummer Night's Dream one shot, I just asked everyone to come up with a rude mechanical, just a real easy, simple, 2-dimensional buffoon, which they did. And then but I've also put in all this work. And look, I've got all this rhyming verse and I have this real deep need as a backstory. I was like, oh, you're all really good. Oh, I have to make time for you to be talented. Oh, no, it was great.
Yeah, if I ever end up DMing, I think 80% of it is just going to be like, they'll do something. It's fine. There's a rude mechanical, just a sweary Warforged.
I missed a trick! Bother, why didn't you make that joke 6 months ago and I could have done something about it?
It's time for the Shakespearean sequel. You know it is.
Oh, no. A Midsummer Night's Dream 2.
Well, I mean, now that we have Pigfolk as canon, you can definitely do Hamlet.
Out. Get out. Actually, I have the power to do this. I kick you out of my happy interview bubble, and Aldrin, you find yourself back in a field.
Cows everywhere.
The Fae waves her hand lazily, and the cows. You blink. You could have sworn they had teeth and fangs and were menacing and looking at you in weird synchronicity, but suddenly they're just cows. 30 happily grazing cows.
Weird.
One of them seems to look at you funny.
Good thing I don't have a dog.
Well, that was very illuminating. Would you like to continue?
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Oh, we're coming over here. You see in the far gate of the field, a very out-of-place door. This one is shimmering as if just currents of air are going back and forward, creating a portal between the field and wherever is next. You cannot see through it. Would you like to step through?
Sure, I'll poke my hand through first, see what happens. That doesn't fall off, then I'll step through the rest of it.
It falls off! No, it is fine. Nothing happens. You step through. It's hard to get a clear view. Everything is slightly shimmery still. It's hard to tell exactly which way is up and down and how far away anything is. But you do see before you an enchantingly beautiful object. Would you like to approach it?
It's not a mirror now, is it?
It is not.
Well, all right then.
I said enchantingly beautiful, not terrifyingly hideous.
I know what you said. All right then. Let's see what this is.
You step towards it mesmerized. Is it a precious gem? It's beautiful, but is it a gem in a case? Nope, it's a pupil in an eyeball. On a stalk. Oh dear. This beauty is in the eye of a beholder. You freeze as it turns its anti-magic cone towards you. How are you going to get out of this one?
Well, anti-magic cone. Well, it's not going to do anything to me. So, I'm not really that afraid because I ain't made of magic. If it was trying to petrify me or something, that would be something of concern. But on this occasion, I can't see why I'd be particularly worried. I mean, perhaps it means it thinks I'm beautiful in some way, and I would say thank you for the compliment, Beholder. I appreciate that, because if I'm in your eye and you think I'm beautiful, well then that's just dandy.
It appears as though the beholder doesn't take too well to flattery, as the walls around you that seemed very far away suddenly constrict and twist and suddenly feel much closer. So there is the beholder, and over the beholder ahead of you is your door out of here.
Like past the beholder?
You can't get past on either side. Your corridor has narrowed.
Still putting out this anti-magic eye beam sort of thing.
For now.
Can I grasp the beholder by the stalk?
You can certainly try.
Yeah. Shine that thing ahead of me like a torch. See what's what. Get rid of any magic, what's going on, stuff like that.
The beholder does not take too kindly to being grasped firmly by its eye stalk and is going to attack you if you don't do anything to prevent it.
Well, let me just think now. If I was being grasped by the eye stalk, what would I do? Probably I would not take too kindly to that sort of thing. On the other hand, the walls are coming in on me. The doors past that way. Oh, maybe I could ride it like one of them hippity-hoppity space hopper things. So like bouncing along. Maybe I could do that.
Are you particularly dexterous?
I've been known to essay a sachet from time to time.
Well, let's see how agile the beholder is feeling. Oh, the beholder's feeling very, very lethargic today. You've caught them on a slow day, which is fortunate for you as you vault on top of the beholder, and its other eye stalks around its body do try and fixate on you, but you have managed to find the one blind spot on the top of a beholder's head. What would you like to do now?
You can just call me Vanilla Eyes. Yeah. I came up with that one all by myself. Not sure why.
I can tell.
It's my favorite flavor of ice cream. All right, then. I can see why I'm being punished in this way. So I'm up on this here beholder, and I can see the door in front of me now.
You can.
Right then. So I'm gonna try and jump up. I'm gonna use this beholder like a trampoline. Spring my way to freedom.
You would like to jump on the head of the beholder, or well, on the main bit of the beholder.
Yes.
And launch yourself through the door.
Yes.
Do you have a D20 on your person?
Yeah, I do have one of them tetrahedral objects.
Why don't you give it a roll?
Well, let's see how this goes. You know what? It's not bad. If I had let's call it a modifier and such, I would say that'd be something like a 23.
Oh, you are very fortunate, because if it was under a 20, the door definitely opened outwards, but however, somehow with the sheer force of your personality, as you bounce your way off the beholder and launch yourself, forward roll, I imagine, through the door. Yeah. This door that was sure it was going to swing outwards and push you back onto the beholder does in fact change its mind, meeting the power of your charisma and open inwards, safely tumbling you.
You know,
into the
you know
next
what
room.
they say? They say a smile can open many doors.
Really?
That's what I've
How's
heard.
that working for you?
Well, I'm about 1 for 1 on that so far.
You've not stopped to choose if you're going into this next room. You just are in the next room. Which is suddenly, from the quiet, slightly disorienting beholder peril of the previous room, a sudden enormous change of pace, as there is cheerful, slightly twangly music from the band in the corner. The smell of beer-drenched sawdust greets your nose as you do faceplant on the floor, and the sound of a lot of happy patrons having a very nice time in the tavern. Now, amongst the patrons is a rowdy table of dwarves, all drinking and clapping each other on the back, and they say, you're here. Come sit, we are telling tales of our legendary exploits. Hafrook here has just been claiming that no one can beat the time they survived a shipwreck along the Sword Coast by taming a plesiosaur and riding it straight into Waterdeep. What do you reckon? What have you done? They stare at you with bated breath.
Well, I reckon I've collected more stories from folks than folks have ever told individually. And I think that by combining every element of them stories, we can come up with something that goes beyond what we ever thought was possible. So why don't y'all tell me your legendary tales, and I will do my best to make them part of Talmora's liturgy. How's that sound?
That sounds like you don't have a good story yourself and you don't want to tell one.
Well, fine. 'Twas on a misty morning, young Aldryn's bow was taut. He went to catch a rabbit, the one that he had caught. But when he finally got there, the rabbit he had thought turned into a hare that wasn't there. And so in the shop he bought his dinner at the sunset. A giant then he rode. He came into the town and stood the folk that he had told. His story for the ages, a long and storied tale. For Aldryn was Talmora, and Talmora never fails.
There is a stunned silence as the dwarves just stare at you. And then that is broken by a roaring and a stamping of feet, and several pints of ale are shoved in your face. He made it rhyme! I can't make it rhyme. Do you make it rhyme? Amazing. How did you learn to do that?
It's the invention of rhyming. Follow Tom Moore. Tom Moore will show you right. Here's some pamphlets. They're in iambic pentameter.
Oh, a solid 3/4 of them take pamphlets. Amazing. And you catch sight out of the corner of your eye of the Fae just hovering gently above the next table, and she raises a glass to you in what you would almost call approval, but it surely couldn't be that.
Surely not, no.
I thought they were about to, things were about to get a little hairy when you just decided to ask them to tell you a story instead of your own, but you turned it around.
Well, these folks are my folks, you know. People have their own stories, their own tales. Plus, when you come out with something when it's least expected, it's going to have more of an impact now, isn't it? But that would presuppose I had some understanding of how to deal with folks and such like, and I ain't saying I do, I ain't saying I don't.
Oh, come now. False humility is no fun at all.
Is there any other kind?
You see, in the tavern wall ahead of you, a door. You get the feeling this might be your final door. Would you like to go through it?
Well, it's a door, not a door. When it's a window. Sure, let's go through.
Excellent. This door is padded, royal blue, and has the buttons pushing in the padding. Doesn't seem to have a handle, but again, if you just touch it, it slides open. Do you go through?
That is an unusual door process. Sure, why not? Let's see what's on the other side.
You find yourself in a very cozy, comfortable lounge where a tiefling reclines on an overstuffed sofa. They give you a warm, welcoming smile and say, "My dear boy, come on in. Take a seat."
Sure, well, I'll borrow one anyway.
Brandy?
Why not?
Good.
You wouldn't happen to have any halfling cheese, would you?
That's only for my best guests. Tell you what, I'll do you a deal. You answer me one question correctly. And if it is correct, you walk out of here with your life and some halfling cheese. You don't, well, neither of those things happen. Sound good?
Well, before I answer that, hang on now. Ask me one thing. If I get the correct answer, then I get my life and some halfling cheese. You just asked me a question. You asked me if it sounds good. And I'd have to say, yeah, sounds pretty good to me. Can I have my cheese?
You're very, very sharp. So sharp I might cut myself. But no, that wasn't the question. But you've just agreed. Are you ready for the question, which is coming after you answer, whether or not you are ready?
Well, I feel slightly concerned at this juncture, but sure, why not? As long as it's good cheese.
Dear boy, don't be concerned. It's just a little bit of death if you get it wrong.
The petty more, you might say.
A little less pleasurable than that one, I'm afraid. Although there are some very strange people in the world.
And I am, definitely.
What number am I thinking of?
The number you are thinking of is the number you are thinking of.
damn it. That is technically correct, and I didn't specify that it wasn't.
The best kind of correct.
Well, go on then. Take your cheese. And much good may it do you. A delightful spread of halfling cheese appears on the table towards you, where the tiefling has turned their back in disgust. Do you take it?
Sure, why not?
Always
Share
an
some with my
interesting
pals.
question. Why not? As you reach out and take it, the wall ahead of you again opens, and there is just an open archway leading towards the porch of the villa where you began. Would you like to head back?
Sure. Just follow this yellow brick road to its conclusion.
The Fae is waiting for you there. And again, looking almost impressed if such a thing is possible.
Want some cheese, Faye? No cheese?
I feel like no one's ever offered me cheese before.
Well, there's quite a lot there. I don't know if I'm going to eat it all myself.
She will reach out a little finger and fastidiously just try a crumb. Interesting. You can really taste the way halflings are used in the process.
Oh, yeah. A friend of mine got me onto this stuff. It's a quiet taste, but it's worth the acquisition.
I have to say I'm feeling very spoiled. First Viorica, and then you have been really rather charming. I might have to rethink my whole party of one idea and maybe reconnect with the other question masters, but they're so whiny and boring. You
Jeez.
kidnap too many Medusas and then they just go, oh, Faye, you shouldn't do that. But you have been good fun. I suppose I should let you head back, but do come and visit sometime on the assumption you remember that I exist and remember how to get here.
I mean, that sounds like a invitation too good to resist. As long as there's halfling cheese, I guess I'd be au fait with that situation.
Hey! And with that, terrible pun that has broken me completely. The Villa of Veracity dissolves around you, and Aldryn is back in the throes of battle, I believe. Right. Thanks, David.
Pleasure. That was fun.
And thank you, everyone, for watching this little bit of carnage. It's always good fun for us, even if it's not for you. I hope it is for you. You will find us here every Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I think we're out of BST and into GMT, or maybe we're still just in BST. I'm not sure. 6 to 7 p.m. in the British time. And on Mondays and Tuesdays, 6 till 9 p.m., same British time, we stream our D&D games where you can follow the adventures of people just like Aldryn. And specifically, you can follow the adventures of Aldryn. Aldryn, yes, where can people watch... Well, David, where can people watch Aldryn and why should they?
People can watch Aldryn on Mondays and also after that on demand. The VODs on Twitch and also on YouTube. Why should you? Because you want to be entertained, and he will entertain you. Channel your Robbie Williams. Let me entertain you.
And on Tuesdays, I don't actually know what's streaming on Tuesdays at the moment. I know we have Sean's campaign Seeds of Defiance starting, I think, next week, but I don't think that's this coming week. Anyway, whatever there is on Tuesday, there is a D&D game. Sorry, editors. There is a D&D game on Tuesday. Please, mods, stick it in the chat. It is 6 till 9 p.m. It will be brilliant because the DMs and the players we have are amazing. If you like mystery, just turn up at 6 o'clock on Tuesday evening and see what's playing. All of this streams at twitch.tv/rolltogetherrpg. VODs are available immediately after the stream to catch up, and on YouTube as well, and you can also enjoy them as a podcast. Huge thanks again to our beautiful D20 Club on Patreon, our dice heads. If you'd like to support us, you can do so from as little as one or equivalent of your local currencies per month. And thank you also to all of our sponsors and supporters. Now, David, and you can take the charming Aldryn with you as you go. Please remember the ancient question master proverb. It's yours, David. You coined it. Would you like to sign off?
Stay classy at the table.